Hello, everybody, and welcome into the latest in this series of podcasts, Giving Health to Your Wealth, with myself, Liam Carroll of SYS Wealth and Financial Planners. And the idea behind these podcasts is to meet experienced professionals who will give expert advice and tips to people on how to give health to your wealth. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Anne Healy. So, Anne, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Thanks a million, Liam, for having me. Great to be here.
I have a feeling this could be a bit of fun, Anne, but anyway, there we go.
Absolutely, that's what it's all about, Liam. Yes.
So just to give a quick short background on Anne, Anne worked for AXA for 37 long years, would you believe? Left in January 2019 to live the dream, as she says. Married to Ed, 3 kids, Edward, Christine and Mike. Mad into sport, and for 16 years, the house was up at 5 a.m. to head swimming. You travelled the world competing, and you went to see Australia, America, England, and all across Europe. And as she says, she's mad, but she wouldn't change anything. She started BD's horseshoes as a hobby, with the intention of taking it further when she left AXA. And so here she is now. Started as a dream, but it's great, and she's really enjoying it. So, Anne, thank you very much, as I said, for taking the time to join us today anyway. And
thanks a million, Liam.
No problem at all. And the first question to ask is, the last 12, 14, 16, 18 months, how has it affected you, I suppose, on a personal and a professional basis, the COVID experience?
So I suppose on a professional, I'll start with the personal. So on a personal basis, I suppose it meant that we couldn't visit, we couldn't pop in. You know, my sister and brother only live outside of the road. You know, there was no more. I'd normally now, because I was a little freer, go to the door and you go in for coffee or whatever. And I suppose that all stopped. People calling to the house here because I was here, that couldn't happen, you know. So I suppose that's what I missed, kind of the interaction and the personal interaction, be it with family or friends, and not being able to go places with my sister or my mother or whatever. So obviously that had a huge impact because I was able to go, you know, if you know what I mean. On a professional basis, I suppose as regards my job now, Liam, it was probably good. It certainly brought me to a point in March 20, when the lockdown was announced. I had been focusing quite a lot on one aspect of my business. I'd been focusing on weddings. That week, every single wedding that I had on board was cancelled. So literally, what I had spent the whole year doing was taking orders for weddings that were coming up, the year ahead, which was 2020, getting prospects. I had a list of people, like I had enough business taken at that point to keep me going for the whole year. And every single one of them were cancelled. Like within 1 week, I had nothing in that book. So you kind of have to kind of pull yourself together then, and you say, right, am I going to just lie down and let it on, or am I going to do something about it? And I suppose for me, what it made me do was it made me sit up and say, well, where do you want to do, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to grow it and increase the business, or do you want to just leave it there and not do anything about it? So obviously, me being me, Liam, I couldn't just leave it there.
No, that wasn't going to happen.
No. So I made the very start of it was that I made a short video out in the garden, 30 seconds, and sent it into Ireland AM, and that actually started. They played it, and like I was very lucky. Then I got on to Dermot and Dave. I got on to KCLR here in Kilkenny, and as the momentum grew, I got busier. So for me, it was great. Now, the year before, so 2019, I had spent that year being out and about. I had gone to wedding fairs. I had been at Bloom. I had been at the horse show. And that was how I did business. So I went out and I met people. Arts Week in Kilkenny would have been a great week. Like you'd been out all week on the parade, you'd be chatting, whatever. All that was gone. So like it was a serious rethink on my part as to how I was going to do business. Now I did have a website, but I suppose I needed to kind of update it and take it on a little bit. So we did all that during 2020, and it's been great. Liam, it's been a whole new world, and that's the
Yeah.
honest to God's truth. So on a professional basis, I have to say, COVID actually has been quite good to me, and it has really made me look at alternatives and options. Now, that's not to say that I won't go back and do the other things, but I would pick and choose now, and I have the option to pick and choose.
But do you know what COVID, I think, it comes across to me, and in an awful lot of these, talking to people on these interviews, it showed an awful lot of resilience in people, that there was a setback, right, I have to recalibrate, and how do I go again? Because if I don't, I'm snookered, and might as well fold up the tent.
Oh,
really,
yeah,
like,
Liam, you can leave it there. If you're not willing to actually
Yeah.
change or get on with it, you have to be able to, you actually have to focus on, I suppose, not on what necessarily is after happening, but what you're going to do about it. So it's to look for a solution or what you can do. Now, look, not everybody is as, I suppose that's not as easy to say as just going and doing it, because it doesn't suit everybody, and the options are limited in some ways. But there's always a way around it. It might take a little bit longer, but if you do think about it, and it's all about thinking outside the box, and just, I suppose, just to try and actually focus your mind on something different. And that's the thing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like, because even I used one of your services to purchase for somebody leaving a job lately, and the feedback was fantastic on it. But the point I'm trying to make is like that without you recalibrating your service to go to a different angle, I would never heard you, or
and you wouldn't, Liam. That's the thing. You actually wouldn't, So for me, it has really opened up an awful lot of doors that I would have never gone to.
Let's say, would I be right in saying, and you do an awful lot of now, I know you're part of the Midwest Mentoring Network group as well, and that you do an awful lot more networking than you would have before the COVID, because of the wedding thing was tied up.
Completely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It's a completely new world.
Yeah.
To a point. And it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's a great way. And you know what? I'd actually even say as well, it's forget the business bit of it.
Yeah.
It's a great way to, I suppose, meet with like-minded people. Now, forget it, anybody doing business with anybody. Just you come away energized from it, and that will drive you on itself to do something different. Or somebody might be doing something, and it'll give you an idea that just might work for you. Not the same thing now, I don't mean that. I mean, but it'll give you just something that, like, I've often taken something that somebody said, it could be you doing something in a financial capacity. But if I'm able to turn it around to do something in the gift way, it could very well work, So it's looking at all those things as well. So for me, it has certainly opened up an awful lot of doors.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And because your product, and then you might give us a brief outline on the product, exactly what you do.
Yeah, sure. So what I actually do is I make good luck gifts from the genuine horseshoe. Now, it's all about the tradition, and I suppose I'm a little into tradition myself. Yeah. And 30 years ago, Liam, it's actually 31 years this month, I got a horseshoe from my flower girl, Cecilia, on my wedding day. And I suppose that's why it's a little bit, I suppose it's true to my heart. That's the way to put it. And I suppose Edward and Mike have ridden for years. They have been on plenty of teams. There has been horseshoes flying around this house for a very long time. And I suppose prior to 2019, I never had an awful lot of time because we were doing something else, even to look at it. But I had the horseshoes, hoping that at some stage that I might get to do something with them. And I suppose, this is a wonderful thing. It's not necessarily about the horseshoe, it's about the good luck. And we make pieces that are totally unique and just made for you. So that's basically the background. It's a good luck gift.
To be fair to you, I think you're nearly underselling your product in a way. I think anybody should have a look at your website. It's fantastic. Like, the products are just fantastic. And I know you do the delivery service involved, and I know someone else that had a grandchild born recently, and it was delivered down.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, we have a range. We do everything from weddings, anniversaries, engagements, new homes, babies. To be honest, a horseshoe can be done to suit anybody. I'm doing an awful lot at the minute. You
can't throw away a horseshoe. It's bad luck to throw it away, isn't it?
Yeah, no, well, I wouldn't throw it away anyway. I have the lads driven wild at the minute, to pick them up and to look after them. But you can imagine now, Liam. But for somebody that's sick, it's a great way to pick them up. For somebody just that's not well, so I do an awful lot of those. I do a small little gift that somebody would put in their pocket and just keep it with them, just for, I suppose, to just get a little bit of hope. That's it.
Brilliant, then. I know it's a brilliant story, like, and I think a story like for someone that was working for so long in secure, if you don't mind me saying it, like a secure occupation, to take the plunge to
completely. I had a great job. I honestly, AXA was a great place to be. I can't say anything about it. Now, on another front, I suppose I just, and not by any means, it wasn't that I gave it up willingly, but I suppose I got an opportunity, and that's the way I'd actually look at it. Mike was, say, my last child was in college, and it was the time. So the time was mine to pick. And I suppose I did get an opportunity, and that's for sure. And AXA were great to give me the opportunity, and that's the bottom line,
It's fantastic. Like, in business you've built, and even you're inside in the Midwest Mentoring Group, and I have to say, like, that you will be at certain times the talk of the place, and the products that you have and things like that. Like, the people do rave about them. And so, a question for you, and you've been between, and you're an interesting one really, because you've seen both sides, I suppose, the startup business person, and you've been in the secure job. So you've been in that job for 37 years, and the startup business element for the last couple of years. But any bit of advice with your experience that you would give to people that it's totally underused, or that people could use for themselves going forward in business, if you understand my question?
I suppose for me, Liam, I probably, like, I suppose I had a little bit of a dream.
Yeah.
And maybe it was totally naive. Now that's the other thing, and that's probably the bigger part of it. Had I done homework? I had, and I had started it as a hobby. So I would say that anybody thinking of maybe retiring or have an idea and are getting an opportunity, first of all, I'd say go for it, because you only live once. If you can manage it at all, go for it. And there are so many supports out there to help you along. I went initially to the enterprise board, I suppose, just to run the idea by them and to see what they would actually think. And they were really, really supportive, because they came back with kind of more ideas. And I suppose that's really then when I hadn't necessarily shared it too much here at home first, because they'd be saying, "Oh, for God's sake, what's she thinking now?" So I had gone to the enterprise board first, to see what they thought, and if they thought that it might be a runner, then I was going to kind of go further into it, and they did. And to be fair to them, they gave me more ideas to work on. So I suppose I would say to anybody in my position that maybe are thinking of doing something and are getting an opportunity, go and talk to the supports that are around you. And there are loads. I mean, I got support for starting the website. I have taken the Trading Online voucher. I have took it there recently. I actually went to Leader as well. And whereas they didn't give me any financial support, they were great at just picking ideas, just a fresh person looking at your idea and seeing where it could go. And that was wonderful. The other thing, that business people themselves are absolutely great. I have to say, some people, and not necessarily people that if you went to some of them for help, they are great for giving it and giving you advice and help onto where to go next, So go out and talk to people, and don't necessarily be worried about, somebody stealing your idea or whatever, because they're not going to, that kind of way. And they can guide you, and that's what it's all about, So like I probably would say that not that I change an awful lot from what I did, but at the same time, there's probably a few things that I did that probably cost me money that were wrong for me. Do you know, that kind of way?
But then you made those, like, it's a real hindsight thing in a way, like, isn't it? That
absolutely, yeah.
And it might have worked in a different time, a bit of bad luck, but you have to.
And it's not even. There weren't even bad luck things, and there were just things that I thought might work.
It didn't,
And I probably invested a little bit into it, and then they didn't work as well as, but that, do you know what, that's total learning, and you've got to take that as it comes, do you know, that kind of way. And it is learning, because sometimes what you think might work, it needs a bit of tweaking.
Yeah.
You know, to be like, you have to be customer focused, you have to know what the customer wants, and at the end of the day, if the customer doesn't want it, it's not going to work. And that's the way it is. Yeah, that's the reality of it.
As much as you want to give it to them, if they don't want it, there's no point.
No. And the other thing is that they have to find you. So you have to be willing to get out there, and you have to be willing to row in and get on with it. And if you're not, this is not for you, you know.
If I could ask the question, Anne, with all due respect now, right? So, but would you, before you started this up, would you have been experienced in the whole, because you're very prominent on social media, would you have been experienced in the likes of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn and all that? Because you're
Liam, no.
Amazing, like, because you really have adapted well to it.
Yeah, I like it. I actually,
don't you?
Yeah. I actually enjoy doing it.
Right.
You know, so that's probably a good thing. And do you know what? That's where all my sales come from.
Yeah.
So it's the likes of Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn now as well. And I do a little bit of Twitter, and funnily enough, I have a few customers on Twitter.
It's amazing, like, yeah.
But if I didn't do those, you might as well be.
As I say, you're twiddling the thumbs waiting, like, and that's the, that's the reality. But like, I even see now with the Midwest Mentoring Group, like, that LinkedIn is so powerful to bring people in towards the group. And like, I use Facebook with Kieran Griffin a bit as well and things. And like, if you don't have a presence out there, and you might as well forget about it.
No,
like,
you listen, you're absolutely at nothing. You have to be on those platforms. And you know what? You have to embrace them.
You do.
And just, you know, just get on with it, because if you don't, people won't find you. And that's the way it is. And that's the way, and I see my own kids, like, that's the way they do business now. And that's the way they find things and look at things.
That's the reality. You're nearly out of dodge. You have 2 questions left. So the second last question, and I know you worked with AXA Insurance for a good number of years, but the financial product that you would advise anybody to look at, that you think that they should take out, or that has been most benefit to you in your career?
Okay, so I suppose because I worked for AXA, insurance was always a very big thing. And I suppose I would always think, if you have it, nothing will happen. If you know what I mean, like, that's just the reality. I suppose over the years, I have seen so many things happen that, you know, could be avoided in one way.
Of course, yeah.
So my biggest, I suppose, take, and this is not even it's not even to do with motor or home insurance. It's more younger people that they would look at a pension. I think for me, it has been my biggest asset. The fact that I was actually able to, I suppose, leave AXA with a package and get a pension. Because I was over 50 at the time, I qualified to draw down my pension. So that has made a huge difference, and has given me an opportunity to do now something that I really, really love. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, a bit of pain in your youth has provided you with a bit of freedom outside of your youth, for want of a better way of putting it.
Completely. Oh, Jesus, Liam. Completely. It's, you know, and I suppose, look, the thing was, I was lucky because AXA, it was something that was provided.
Yeah, it's
but
fantastic.
Anybody listening to this now that doesn't have a pension, and they're getting towards, you know, 30 or whatever, it is a huge, huge asset to have when you get older.
Yeah.
One that I probably never thought of at the time, but honest to God, it's so important.
And then going to get more important then, because with the state pension is only going to be pushed one way, like, so I mean, it is going to get more important down the line for people.
Liam, I think it's 67 now for me. Yeah. Like, and in reality, you know, now should I say on this, like, not that who wants to be working on that stage, but you might, and that's fine if you do, but at least if you don't, you have an option.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. Exactly.
Yeah, that is the reality.
Last question, Anne.
Sure, go on, go for it.
Hit me with it. The best bit of advice you ever got, be it from a parent, sibling, lecturer, whatever it was, or work colleague, best bit of advice that you ever got?
Liam, the best bit of advice I ever got from anybody And I suppose I would carry it through, and I would tell my children to carry it through, is that you treat everybody as you would like to be treated yourself. And that's both in business, and it was one thing that I suppose in AXA, it was always drummed into us that, you know, you respect each customer as they came through the door, you look at what they want, and if you can help them, you help them. And I think if you do that, you'll get the business anyway. That will come to you one way or the other, but you'll also get respect. And, you know, I have 3 children myself. I would hate to think that somebody would do anything other than treat them, you know, as they would like to be treated themselves. So
both ways, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's something I kind of, you know, always have done, and, you know, would expect the same. You know, if I was dealing with somebody, I would like them to treat me as they would like to be treated themselves.
And so it's a simple bit of advice, Anne, but it's so true, really.
No, it absolutely is so true, and I do feel that if people live by that, you won't go wrong. You know, because, you know, sometimes, you know, you can, you know, I suppose over my time in AXA in particular, I would have, you know, there's plenty of opportunities that you would sell something, but you always have to be honest to people. You know, you always have to tell them what you think suits them, and they make the decision then. And by doing that, you know, you're straight with them, and that's it. And it was never for the fact of selling, even though you had targets and you always had to be honest. And that would have been the way that we were told to do business. You know, you tell them, you don't try and sell them anything. You just, if they want it, they want it. But if they don't, that's grand too. And you tell them really your best advice. Yeah. You know, and I would try like that, keeping that going now. Like I'd always live by that, you know.
It's a simple yet effective rule, Anne, I think. But
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Question for you, Anne. We have said earlier on, we mentioned about your Facebook page. What's it? How does someone log into that? What do they type in to get to it?
So it's Biddy's Good Luck Horseshoes. I'm on Instagram as Biddy's Good Luck Horseshoes, and the website is Biddy's Good Luck Horseshoes. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn as Anne Healy, Biddy's Good Luck Horseshoes.
One question I didn't ask you.
Yeah.
Where did Biddy's come from?
Right. So Biddy was the first horse that we had that Edward rode, and he won so many things on. Edward started, he'll kill me now for telling this. He started riding late, as in he was, you know, 14 or 15, but took to it quite fast, and obviously loved it.
Yeah.
And a friend of ours lent us Biddy initially, then we subsequently bought her. But she was the animal that you could have had in the kitchen with you, and she would have talked back to you, you know. She gave so much to us, I suppose, not only in the winning, but she minded Edward. She, you know, she never put a foot wrong. She was just, you know, I couldn't have actually. Yeah, no, I couldn't have picked any other one. Now we've had plenty since, like Mike rode Born to Bounce there, and she was a miracle animal as well. Like she did everything, and we won so much on her. But Biddy she was the first one. Yeah. And she was just the one that just got our hearts, you know. So
amazing, yeah. No, it's a great story.
Yeah, so I could I couldn't have called it anything else other than Biddy, even though I was actually told initially not to call it Biddy. Isn't it a gas? But I still went with it because I just felt the name, because she was so personal to us and brought us so much, I suppose, fun and good times.
And you didn't want to let her name down in the business either.
No. And like Edward was the first Irish boy, I suppose, because he was 17 or 18 at the time, to actually win an English tetrathlon competition, and he won it on Biddy. And she saved him, you know, she saved him, she minded him, she, you know.
It's one of those.
And that's Yeah. No, just,
Great
you
story.
know, one of the ones you just couldn't buy and you just land on her, you know.
And it has been very, very entertaining, very
Thanks a
informative.
million.
You have a fantastic business there, and I would encourage people to log on to the Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We've given all those. We'll have Anne's contact details at the end of the presentation or the podcast.
Thanks a million, Liam. And obviously, if they want to give me a ring, I don't mind chatting either.
No. Put a half an hour aside then, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks a million, Anne, and thanks to everybody
Not
for
at all.
tuning in. And until the next time, stay safe. Thanks, Anne.
Thanks, Liam.
Bye.
Bye.